Hopefully it's like a few people. It's almost a little bit before you get out there. Yeah, I'll take all that. Yeah, that's true. Take it first, yeah. Yeah, we can buy and in the night, we can't look at the bus, we go certain ways. Yeah, well, let's see. See what's working. Kitchen is open. Yeah, for sure. Sure? Sure, for sure. What's that? Listen. This is sensitive, you know? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I can imagine. I really hear that. Nothing, no, just yeah, for sure. I was going back and forth with my daughter also. Yeah, what do you do? No, because I walked the short road. I didn't get to talk to her, but she just went back. I'm going to call right after. It's 2 o'clock. 9 o'clock. No, it'll be 3.
I want to thank the Safir family, Parnes HaYom, לעילוי נשמת דבר בס חיים, נשם שהלוי בשלום Simcha nachas and broken. Okay, the Darkecha. on page Reishchav Dalet. Tefillah, davening. I'm talking now about the challenges, the difficulties during davening, and how, and some ages that we have from the Parnes HaChodesh, how to work with these difficulties. So, Siv Beis, where it says Lachtaif. Echad me'advarim sheshoifim es ha'ovdim hu she'enim maslichim l'kavnu chol tefillah. One of the things that people are serious about their Avodah Hashem and about their davening, one of the things that breaks them, that they're very always worked up and upset about, is that they're not able to have kavanah, they're not able to have kavanah throughout the davening, the chol hatfilah, through the entire davening. And even if they're able to, have a hargasha, feeling of Hashem Yisbarach, pisam hamachshava barachas, but it comes and it goes. They're not able to hold on to it. That machshava disappears. V'tzarech l'sragel lachtaif mashe avshe. L'smach b'zeh. The tzaddikim tell us that a person has to grab whatever he's able to, lachtaif mashe avshe, l'smach b'zeh, to be happy with whatever part of davening, even if it's a small part of davening that he's able to concentrate on. Obviously, you try to do the best you can, but whatever you're able to grab, l'smach b'zeh, and to rejoice with that little bit. Because there's hardly anybody in the world that's able to have kavanah throughout the davening. All that a person can do and is asked to do is to try to make a hishtadlus, and that's all. And the truth is that that particular davening and that particular day, whatever he's able to chap, whatever he's able to grab and to hold on to and to concentrate on, he was kind of hit the aliyah of that tefillah that was necessary, that was for that day. And that tefillah has an aliyah. Through that little bit that he was able to chap, he brings up the entire tefillah. This, of course, is in general a very big and important klal in Avodah Hashem. In all Avodah Hashem, the person has to hold on to these two sides simultaneously. On the one hand, this on the one hand, you put in all your koyches, you try the best you can, you really try. The kavein, to have kavanah, hargish, and to feel. Mitzad sheni, on the other hand, laharach mashakain hisig v'hirgish. On the other hand, to value and to appreciate whatever it is that you were able to get, whatever little bit you were able to feel, and to have simcha, and to be besimcha with whatever chelik it is that you were able to have. In Shin Pedal, look at note Shin Pedal. If a person is not besimcha with whatever it is that he's able to grab, and he's seen, like in many svarim, different kinds of svarim, all kinds of critical things about not having kavanah and losing kavanah and so on, and he's upset because he was only able to have kavanah by a small part of davening, so he's not besimcha. If a person is not besimcha with whatever he was able to be matzliach, then of course what happens to such a person, but that's happened to many, many people, is that over time they just feel that there's no tachlis, there's no point for whom is yaish, and the person just gives up and becomes just another one of the people that daven just to be outside davening. He doesn't work on it anymore because he feels that my working on it has not borne fruit, and I don't see the results of the work. It's like that with all Avodah Hashem, not just davening. On the other hand, of course, those who are critical of this mahalach, which is the mahalach of the Tamir Bolsham, to be besimcha with any little conquest of any little part of davening in Avodah Hashem, those who are critical of it. Their time is, But if the person's happy with the little bit that he was able to do, and he walks around, quoting Rabbi Nachman that a bissel is always good, the little bit is good, then isn't there a chashash? I mean, there's a chashash that if the person goes around and he's always happy with the little bit that he gets, that he's going to become lazy. It's not going to work hard. That's a serious chashash, and that does happen to many people. And that's one of the concerns that the tzaddikim have with those who are learning the Sfarim HaKadoshim, and they are very much affected by this type of chizuk. That on the other hand, they're going to stop. They're not going to put it, not because they're misyaish, it's because they're too satisfied and they're too happy with the little bit that is good, and they're not going to make an effort to do more. And this person will be satisfied with whatever little bit he does in his davening, in his mitzvahs, in his learning, in his avodah. The attitude will be, I saw that tzaddikim say that I should be b'simcha with whatever little bit that I was able to do, and many people do descend into that place of misunderstanding what the tzaddikim were talking about, and lacking any true effort to move further. That's a mistake. And of course the only real solution to that is to this problem of pushing yourself too hard to the point that you're misyayish when it's not working, or not pushing yourself at all and just being satisfied with everything, every little bit. The solution to this is zchus. The solution is, of course, to live every moment of your life with Hashem and to remember that you're working for Him. So you might be this smiley, happy person. You consider yourself to be a big chassid, and you walk around always feeling great and making very little effort in changing, both in positive, in mitzvah, and even when it comes to overcoming certain negative things, and you're always happy. Hashem is Baruch and Klal Yisroel. Hashem knows whether or not this is merely, is this a tactic to overcome Yeush and to be able to strengthen your Avodah Hashem, or is this just an excuse not to do much? It's either this or that. It's either that you are a person that you work hard, and you can't always accomplish what you would like to, and you mechazik yourself b'simcha with everything that you did accomplish, which is the correct, proper, and holy way, or you just playing games, playing games, and you're not really working on things, and you just use this newly discovered whole Hasidic thing about being happy with a ma'at, and you do a little, and you don't try that much, and you feel great about yourself. That's not Avodah Hashem. You have to remember that Hashem is Baruch and Klal Yisroel. Hashem knows exactly what the cheshbon is, even though you might be covering it up even to yourself. Hashem knows what the cheshbon is. Okay, as when I was in Yerushalayim, there's this person that he would walk in late to davening, not just 2 or 3 minutes. Every single day he would come in 10, 15 minutes. I was just visiting that place for a couple of weeks there, but there was so he was like one of these happy new, Hasidic types, an American guy, and some old man said to him, some old guy went over to him and said, what's up with you? He's just an old guy, like a regular Yerushalmi. So he's this smiley guy. He's got his lupayis, and he's got that whole look. And the old guy just says, "What's the matter with you? What are you coming here? Are you coming over here every time here to davening like this?" So he starts to say, "Mad zetov, come on." And the guy looks at him like, what do you mean mad zetov? So he's saying that coming late to davening is, day after day. And because he came a little bit, he came from Yishtabach or from Kriyashma, and he's ma'at zetov, kach, omrim tzadikim, so ma'at zetov, the guy says, ma'at zetov. You're too happy, you know. You're too happy with your ma'at. Yeah, whatever happened to coming on time? You know. So sometimes it's harder to think, sometimes it's very obvious that this is just being used as an excuse. You have Baruch Hashem, there's a wonderful resurgence and excitement over this Parnes HaChodesh. But like everything that's holy, there are people that will abuse and misuse, and it's just an excuse to not really put in the kaiches that they should be putting in. That's not the tachlis. The tachlis is never to be misyayish, to work hard, and to be besimcha with what you can accomplish, but always be conscious of who you're working for, and to try as hard as you can to do more. So it's not to play games. Givanim, Gimel. Just to finish those last words of the note, I didn't finish. Yeah, of the Hashem's Bachabar Klash V'Leiv Sheyadeh Heitev Yem Adam Is Ametz Lefi Madrigaso V'Inyan. Hashem knows the truth. Whether you're working hard, you're putting in an effort according to your madriga and your inyan. It could be for that guy, you know. I don't know. It could be that he was on drugs for the last 10 years, and for him it could be that coming day after day, even a little bit to shul. You know, maybe the old guy is wrong. I don't know, but Hashem knows. Nobody else knows. Hashem knows what that is. But just to be stam besimcha and not do much, and you're learning, you're davening your mitzvahs, that's not what this farmer is talking about. And there's a lot of that going around. You know, people come every time late to davening, come late to every shiur. They don't go to shiur, or they don't go to shul, and they have all these, and they'll always start quoting these things and lo yityayish and besimcha. And they have a couple of key phrases from Rabbi Nachman and from other tzaddikim that they like to pull out to excuse themselves. That's not what this farmer is talking about. The tzaddikim expected hard work, and they themselves never stopped working. But the person is trying, and is lo halech, and he does what he's able to do. Then, of course, that's what the tzaddikim are talking about. The famim ha'asiba shatfilim is babelas ve'eno cheshik v'yishuah v'das yibiglas she'adam oses tfilos keva. Then we have another major problem with davening, and this is going back since there's davening in the world, or especially since we have a seder of tefillah. Meaning the times and the days before the siddur was set up and before the whole seder of davening, it was different. Where davening was much more spontaneous and using one's own words. But ever since we have a seder of davening with a formula of words of what to say, then it's very, very hard not to fall into that Aish Tefilos or Keva. That the davening just becomes something that you do by rote, and it just becomes an obligation. It's a kviyas kitzarach lahavin devar yesodi. He says a person has to understand something that's very, very basic. V'hu she'ein derech achas b'tefillah, el yesh gevanim rabim l'tefillah. Even though we have a siddur, and we have every single day of the year a certain seder of davening, weekday and Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Yom Tov, and so on, but there isn't one. It's not that there's only one derech of davening. Yesh gevanim rabim l'tefillah. There are many colors to tefillah. B'chol pam tzarich laleches l's'er l'spalo b'derech hamatima l'nafsho. Therefore, a person has to try to change things up, which means that each person, according to his service that he needs at that time in his life, and there are different parts of that. It will speak to him at that particular time in his life. And everybody has their own way. In the way that Hashem is bringing him, at that particular time, what he's going through, and what he's and what is it that his life is about at that time, and to use davening as we were talking about in his birthday chabur a lot, to use davening as a way of connecting to himself and who he is during that time in his life. Therefore, a person has to learn the different gevonim, these different ways or different colors of tefillah. There are different gevonim and the different mahalchim in davening. Yesh tefillah b'miyushav mitoch yeshuah v'das. There's a certain type of davening that's with yeshuah v'das, not excitement and not all, but with yeshuah v'das. Mitoch yeshuah v'das. Yesh tefillah b'amida kilifnei hamelech, and then there's a tefillah where a person is standing in a sort of with a feeling of great awe before the king. Yesh tefillah b'sara v'eslavus, all kinds of eslavus. Yesh tefillah b'kol d'mamadaka, and there's davening that's just quiet and more gentle and still. Shalvikus otzim with tremendous concentration. Yesh tefillah shemizboinim b'chol milo u'marach lahagisha. There's a type of davening where the person says every word very, very carefully, and the concentration is more on the actual words themselves. He's mizbainin in every word, and marach lahagish, and he's trying to feel each of those words. Yesh tefillah shenemeres biyoseh zvizus. There are other types of tefillahs where it's just quickly, and there's a general feeling of bitoch eslavos verikos, not so much each individual word, but an overall general feeling of hislavos, of being able to be in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to talk to Hashem and so on. Look at Shin Pei Hey. But if the person always goes with one mahal, this is how he davened. There's a certain davening a way of davening that he likes and that he's connected to in the past, and he always wants to go that. He considers that to be his style of davening and his successful davening. So that what happens is, of course, is that over time there's no zchus. Everything's always the same. Not only that, he always expects that this is the way he's going to daven. It's always going to be exciting. It's always going to be this way, this type. But the truth is that there are times that he can't do that, and it's not going to work. Like the person is expecting always that the davening should be lichtig, it should be beautiful. The Talmud Yasirach Lalos Baba Madregas, and he's always going to climb the four Madregas that we were learning about, to Asiya and Yitzira, Bria, Yitzira, all the way up to Tatzilus by Shemoneh Esrei, and he's always going to be on that ladder, climbing until he gets Ad HaBitl HaShalom, until he gets to Madrega of Bitl, as we were learning about Shemoneh Esrei, B'shiyagish, B'psoros, to feel Mamish, the Orv, in a very strong way. So this person, because he's not going to be able to do that all the time, that's just the reality. The person is very much affected by what's happening in his life, and there are many, many factors that affect his davening. So when he sees that he's not masliach, and he's not climbing that ladder at all, he's just stuck and there's nothing much going on, so then he's going to say, all right, this davening today doesn't count. In other words, it's not working. Today the davening is not going. And he just, and then he's not going to try to be on a more basic madreg, let's say just understanding the words, or thinking about some of the words, or even thinking about one or two of the paragraphs that he's able to think about. He's going to say, no, this is not my type of davening, and he's not going to feel any Indian of davening. That could go on for days or weeks or months that he doesn't want to daven at all, because he's not willing to let go of his madrega of tefillah at that time to just enter into a more pashat, a basic level of davening. And he's not going to value a simple tefillah, a plain tefillah, with trying to just concentrate on the words and put in effort on the words, because that's not his davening. His davening is normally with all kinds of excitement and reaching levels of madregas, of bittul, and so on. And now it's very simple, it's very plain. But he's not going to try to do that, because that's not his madrega. That's not who he is. He feels that he's a home run hitter. He goes for the fences. Now he's like standing around there bunting or trying to single or a sacrifice fly. So what am I doing over here? He's hitting him out of the park, and he's got a very high slugging average percentage. Now he's just like dragging around in the infield. So what's the tachlis? Take me out of the lineup. What's the point? It's not my way of davening. I'm a home run hitter. I'm not a guy that goes for singles. But all the great ball players, just since we're using that muscle, all the great ball players, when for whatever reason, health or just stomping in a slump, whatever the reason was, the great ball players always switched to, if right now I could try to get a single, or if I can try to squeeze out a walk from this guy, or whatever it is, to get on base, or to do what you can. And that's and lahavdil, infinite havdalas. It's stop saying about yourself that my davening is I go only for the home runs, and I'm not going to be happy with getting a couple of singles or walking, whatever it might be. That's just not my davening. And bichlal, in Avodah Hashem, to have that approach is very, very dangerous. But rather the person, because otherwise the person just lets go, and you see, the person just stops trying, stops caring. He's not gonna value a simple tefillah. We talk mamas. Because what's the point of trying? I'm putting in a big effort, and I'm just having this a very minor result of a little davening and some kavana. So why should I put in that big effort if I'm not coming up with my normal fantastic davening? So he's not going to use the zmani hakatnas again, like the ball player. Even though he's not hitting home runs right now, he's getting on base, and he's able to accomplish in the place that he is right now. He's not hitting them. He's not hitting the home runs, but he's accomplishing. He's masliach in the madrega that he's in right now to do the best he can, because he's going through a time of katnas. There's a certain kind of a slump. So when you're going through a slump, there could be many reasons why a person in his Avodah Hashem is going through a slump. The ikar is to try to get on base. That's the ikar, just to get on base any way you can. Instead of having an aliyah during that time and valuing any little bit that he's able to accomplish, he just walks away from it. It just doesn't make an effort. A person has to know there are many different types of davening, many different types. Hashem is happy with all of these. And if today this is your davening and you're working at it, again, just to get on base, you're working to do what you can to get on base, Hashem says, good. Samech b'kulam. B'chol pam tzarich lavud l'fi ma Hashem yisbarach mekaven osa. And a person has to feel and be aware of what it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from him at that time, and where Hashem Yisbarach is taking him at that time in his life. And that's all. Shin Pei Vav. Yesh Tefillah b'peh, v'yesh Tefillah b'machshava. Different types of davening. There's Tefillah b'peh, just saying the words, and there's Tefillah b'machshava, and there's davening in the mind. V'yesh gam Tefillah shi al yidei ma'aseh, she Tefillah tachta Rabbi Yosef, and then there's the most basic level of davening, which is al yidei ma'aseh. So we have all kinds of stories from the tzaddikim about there's a famous story from the Baal Tanya, there's some say from the Baal Shem HaKadosh, but there are different versions also of the story about the Jew that's, he's in the market, he's in his store, whatever it is, and he suddenly looks and he realizes the sun's going down, and he didn't daven mincha, right? And he just runs to the side somewhere and asks the people, wait a minute, I just have to get something, and he runs to the back of the store and he davens a 2-3 minute, whatever it is, a chapsa Shemon Esrei. So we find stories. The Baal Tanya said that about such a davening, the malachim are jealous of such a davening. So then we think that when we do that, like on a regular day, it must be like the Baal Tanya. Who knows what the malachim is saying about my Shemon Esrei? No, what's the matter with you? Like, why aren't you davening? It's a true story, and the malachim are doing whatever they're all excited about. when it's what the person can do and when it happened. And the Tanya was saying that in the middle of this person's commotion with his customers and everything like that, when he saw the son, his heart was filled with he was sibrachen. It says, because the way the story is told is that he went and he gave a krach. He went, oi, and he said that's not how he davened. He didn't want to daven that way. Whenever it was it happened like that, and he gave a krach that hurt him. Look what's become of me. And he cranks out one of those fair shmonesres to get back to his customers. And that's the malachim. It's a whole tumult in Shemayim, a person, because that's what Hashem's bar, the nachas that Hashem had from this person, that he remembered Hashem, and that he stopped everything in the middle, and he did what he was able to do at that moment of his life when he was busy with all these things. And he took, that's why Mincha is such a heilige davening, because Mincha is such a tefillah, especially now. Mincha is so early. So they're madregas, but again, only Hashem knows the truth. And that story is because this person was in a place where, so what the Tanya, why all the malachim? Why wouldn't it be better for this guy to just go to shul and be like a regular person and daven a nice long shemona esrei instead of chapping in the corner someplace in the back of the store to fast to daven shemona esrei? Because truthfully, that's what happened to him that day. He wasn't trying to. He wasn't trying to adapt this as a way of life, a 1 minute shemona esrei someplace. He normally tries to go to shul and he normally tries to daven in the right way. And whatever happened, he was on this. It happened that day. That's where he was, and in that place that he was, instead of letting go of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he gave a big krechs, and that krechs meant, I'm so sorry. This is not what I should be doing, but here it is. I'm yours. Now, when we see that the Tanya praises such a davening, it's not that he's recommending that as a way of life. What he's saying is, remember, keep in mind, you see the next word that says over here, this Avodah Baruch Hu Liyos Ladir B'Sakton, which is of course about Tanya's battle cry, and all Chassidus, that in a certain way, the tachlis of Avodah Hashem is revealed to that Jew's shemona esrei in the back of the store. The tachlis. In other words, it's a spitz davening. In a certain, on the one hand, it's a very basic and low level of tefillah. It's not the tachlis to daven like that for a minute in the back of the store. That's not the tachlis. But on the other hand, it's the highest tefillah because in that respect, it's a murdiga gilui, a revelation of dir b'tachton. What does that mean? How is this the whole tachlis of creation is that the Shechina Kedosha, that the Kedosh Baruch Hu Kivyochel, the Orva Hashem Shemizgala in this world, right? That's dir b'tachton. So in that way, this type of a tefillah, again, not as a planned davening, not as a way of life. I'm not talking about, again, not a joke. But when it happens, this is the Tanya says, this Avodah Baruch, this is all I'm teaching. The Tanya says, this is the whole Tanya. This is exactly my point. How? In what way? How is this dir b'tachton? I don't know. Shimon, I see you're nodding your head.
Because the person was in the middle of business and he was mamish in this world rather than in Ruchnius, and yet he was able to...
Exactly, because in that place of tachtain shebetachtain, of maybe handling with some peasants, with some Cossack over a piece of herring or something, in the middle of that, in the middle of being in a place of the lowest place in the world, he in that place of choshech machushech of this world, this Jew stops and he's megalo or Hashem by saying that right now, this minute is yours. So on the one hand, it's a very, very plain and simple and low davening, and of course all the elitists who have the luxury of sitting in the beis medrash the whole time, and they're going to look at this and say, "Fech, this is disgusting." Guy goes in the back of his store to daven. He didn't even wash his hands. He smells from the herring, and he goes in the back of the store and he davens for 1 minute. Look at me. I have my big tefillas, my big davening. I walk around with fat tzedurim with all kinds of kavanas, and I stand there for a half hour, shemona esrei, and the Tanya says, this guy, the herring guy, oh, the malachim are going crazy for you. Okay, shkar. This guy, oh, the malachim are mamish tumbling over this guy. And in that respect, the tachlis of creation is being misgaleh from this person, which is how the Tanya, the whole Indian of working, of a working person, like most of you, that has a regular job, and that you're in that place of tachtainim. And the way the Tanya and the other Talmidei Baal Shem speak about the working person with the greatest respect and the greatest love and admiration for the person who's serious, takes his Avodah Hashem seriously. It's important to him, and on the other hand, he's constrained by the limitations of time because of what he's doing with his work, and the very fact that he's busy all day long in the gashmis of this world, and yet he doesn't let go of Kadosh Baruch Hu. And by the Talmidei Baal Shem, that this is not only there's not a person that's a b'diavad, the way that it is in certain circles, that this is looked upon as being a b'diavad. This Jew is the most respected, the most admired, and in certain ways it's looked at as being the tachlis of creation. Not to say, oh, you're saying he's more important than the Rav or the Rosh Hashiva. That's ridiculous. It's not a question of chshivas and covet of the Talmud Chacham. This is one of the things that the Misnagdim went crazy about. They went crazy about this. The way that the Baal Shem HaKadosh and the Tzaddikim, the Talmidei Baal Shem, how they loved the simple people and they trusted the simple people and they respected the way that the simple people looked at the world and looked at Hashem's Baruch, and they had tremendous love for the instincts of simple Jews, Pashat Yidden, that know what's right and they want to serve Hashem's Baruch, and so on and so forth. And they weren't saying that no, this is better than being a Talmud Chacham. We're never saying that it's better than being a Talmud Chacham. There's a whole fantastic sefer that came out around 2 years ago from Israel called Avodah L'Jamra. The whole sefer is around 200 pages, 250 pages, is to explain the derech of Baal Shem Tov Binyani Parnasa, just about working, and according to the derech of the Baal Shem Tov, I'd say 70% of the sefer is based upon the Tanya, the Baal Tanya's teachings and the Rabbi, but and he's not a Lubavitcher, but this Inyan is the Alter Rebbe's. This is the Inyan of the Alter Rebbe, that he was mevar this sugya of the chshivas of a person who going to work and being in the world and staying connected to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. That in a certain way is and the Tanya says it very openly. Of course, you can understand why this would upset the Misnagdim, that this is a higher madrigan than the Avodah and the Tefilos of the Talmid Chacham. It's higher. Not only it's not a b'david, it's higher than them. And he writes that in many places. Even though who was like the Baal Tanya was such a guy in Olam and valued the study of Torah, and in many places in Tanya he writes, in other places in his farm, that there's nothing higher than the limit of Torah. And the people misunderstand that he's not saying that learning is not the greatest thing in the world. He's talking about the Inyan of Dir B'Tachtainim, and how in that respect the person who's going to work every day and is in this world, and in this world he's Megala Or Hashem in the way that he talks to customers and the Erlichkeit in his chapping a minion and and a daf yomi and living in that way. That's a gili of Dir B'Tachtainim, the highest madrega of Dir B'Tachtainim. And the people that get angry and scream about this, they just don't understand what he's talking about. They never really learned it. But it's the highest madrega of Dir B'Tachtainim. The Baruch wanted to be with you here in the herring store, in the fish store. The Baruch is here. And you begal him in this place, in a place where you wouldn't have expected to find him. B'derech klal odom makris Tefillah shibafiv. I would sarach losim leiv shebishah next page shehum moicha kapav marka b'raglov yiterches eres rucha lekach as a b'ayis show betzim mispal Hashem mispal b'gufo. And even though davening, the way davening takes place is with a combination of trying to use our thoughts, our mind, together with using our mouths, but we know that there's also when a person is clapping, or a person is moving, a person is shuckling, a person is dancing, that's also called davening. My body is speaking. They call body language, right? So my body is speaking, and my body is davening to Hashem. And he's not talking about just a stammer person making believe, but that there's his service and the movements are also the There's also a type of davening that's with the guf. That's with the guf, with the body. And in this way, a person's revealing the elokus yisbarach, the elokus of Hashem, even in mekomas hanemuchim, even in the lowest part of his life, which is not his mind and not his mouth, it's not his machshava, it's not his dibur. Even with the guf, which is the lowest part of the person, is his guf. Is Megala Kvayt Hashem. There's also the big inyan of Belech Chassidim, other Rikudim, and Avodah and Gashmias, which caused a lot of people to get upset, and all of the physical movements and things that became part of davening that many were upset about, and even among the Chassidim, even in the family of Baal Tanya, because the way of the Mittler Rebbe was to daven very, very still. Mittler Rebbe's yahrzeit is coming up. What's today's Hebrew date? It's already hey, Dalet. So the Mittler Rebbe's yahrzeit is Tes or Tes. Because I believe Tes or Yud.
Yud is the left.
Is when he got out of jail. Tes is the Mittler Rebbe's yahrzeit.
Yud when he got out of jail.
So the yahrzeit is. It's either Tes or Yud because it comes. It's one of those. Okay, so the Mittler Rebbe's yahrzeit, you can check that. Tes or Yud. I don't remember which the year. One's when he got out. When he got out of jail, and the other one was when he was also born that time too. I don't get mixed up. Tes or Yud. Okay, so the Mittler Rebbe's mahalach and davening was very still. He had his clothing always getting from the Avodah was wet and he was dripping from his Avodah. The Tanya, they say, and the Rabbi Shoshelia, the Tanya's Talmud was jumping around like a beditcher. And so there was, again, Chassidim were upset, how could it be like this, but the Rebbe did like that, and this one did. And the tzaddikim, there were also different ways of davening, but the tzaddikim, each one had his own avodah by davening. But that's the union of Tefilos HaGuf, the body itself. The body itself davens, the body itself, the movements of the body, which is Megala or Hashem. Even one's physical limbs, a person's Megala, the Or of Hashem. So the need of clapping. Again, when it's done in a real way, sincerely, not stop. This became a very big part of Chassidus. The Avodah of the Chassidim was with moving and with jumping, with running, and came Tes. Yeah, Tes. So Tes Kislev Shkai. The Mittler Rebbe's yahrzeit is coming up. So that became part of the Avodah. And that's a dear b'tach time. That person at that time, on top of Reishchav, if a person has to try to feel what is it that I can do now, or what is it that Hashem wants of me now? Sometimes when a person has the time and he's able to be marach, to spend a lot of time on the words, niftach lo halev la'hagashas elokus, that opens up the heart to feeling elokus. But there are other times that spending too long in the davening just causes that he loses concentration. There were some tzaddikim that daven very fast. Other tzaddikim that daven slowly. And even those tzaddikim that daven slow or fast, there are different times that they daven. This one daven fast, this one daven slow. That's how they were. So sometimes a person davens quickly because there's a certain machshava and a certain connection that he has, and he moves quickly to keep that and not to lose concentration. Sometimes the heart is open to feel each word. And if that's working at that time, then he should try to sit and spend more time. And therefore, again, this is something that caused a lot of the Muslims to get upset. They saw by the Chassidim that there'd be some chassid sitting in shul, and he wouldn't keep up with the davening of the shul, and he'd be sitting there and davening for 2-3 hours, and then he didn't daven b'tzibur, and he's not davening that, and all the problems in halacha that are with this person, and the Chassidim generally were not getting worked up about it. If a person would sit. Again, it's not a way of life. The way of life is to daven Tefillah b'tzibur. Davening with the tzibur, you have to daven with the tzibur. But then every now and then there would be a chassid that would just sit in the corner someplace and would daven for 3-4 hours. And there was never an Indian by the chassidim. This guy sitting there at whatever 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and not because he came at 1 o'clock. He came at the regular time, but he's sitting there and davening, and he didn't. So then then there's the halachist that yells, he didn't daven b'tzibur, he didn't daven b'tzibur. And the chassidim just look at that person and screaming. They either ignore him or they laugh at him. It's just not an understanding of the whole mahalach of the Talmud Yibul Shem, that there are times that it's like this. And today it was like that, and that's his avodah. So he doesn't have a kviyas in davening. It's not a kviyas. There are different ways. There are different times. Sometimes the person has to get himself worked up because he's not having much of a cheshek, and sometimes by saying the words strong and out loud. Sometimes it's more of a kavanah in a quiet way, thinking about the words. Other times it's not happening, and he has to try to get something together. So he tries to daven more sorrow with a storm and kol ram v'achaha hamaysim mishach ma'alavavis, and by storming, he's able to bring about some feelings and some thoughts. L'fam misanigel hagoshes kol milu. L'fam ha'itius tigrum lo lahargish kemasui. Sometimes he enjoys davening slowly. He's just enjoying every word. And there are other times that by davening slowly, he feels this is like it's schlepping, and he doesn't, and it's not good. Whatever. It's just he feels like this is a burden. L'famim imenagin niggun b'tfilosa. Yiftach liba. Sometimes in the middle of davening, if he starts to sing a niggun, so beginning by the chassidim that to start to sing a niggun in the middle of davening. L'famim davka tzarich litzak. Sometimes it's not a niggun, a nice sweet niggun. Sometimes it's screaming. There's all different ways of davening. Atzad hashav. Tzarich shlo yehadam mekuva ba'ofen tfilosa. Tzad hashav is not to get stuck. That davening is davka this way, one way. Not to get stuck. The issue is, what way in davening, how could I daven that now, this moment of my life, will help me to get closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu? Short, long, loud, davka working on this piece of davening, which I find right now, these words are giving me chizuk, or this part of davening, and not worrying about the rest, and to be yaitzik, to say what you have to say, but not to worry about this is not the way I should be davening, this is the way I usually daven. And davening is much more freestyle. What works for you at that time? That's not talking about skipping Kriyashma, skipping, Ashrei, but the way of davening, it should be and that's what the Chazal meant when they said Al Tas Tfilascha Keva. There was such a thing from the Baal Tanya, where there was Misnagi that was critical of the way that the Chassidim were davening, and the complaint was that he has to be a Mokum Kavua, and has to be a the Tanya. I don't remember the exact Russian. But the Tanya said something to the effect of that by you the stender is kavua. That's the kriyas, the stender. Not the davening, the stender is kavua. When the guy shows up at his stender, he was there and he davened, but he was upset that Chassidim don't daven with the kriyas, and the Tanya said, your stender is kavua, you're davening, your stender is a kriyas. Your davening is not kavua. The stender is where you daven, but your whole davening is just the stender, and your place, your mokum. You have people that they're ready to kill over their mokum kavur. But once they got the stranger out, once they got the intruder out of their mokum kavur, then so like, what do you need? What are you doing here? So he gets back to his place because he got the intruder. Some poor guy showed up, from the street and came and he went and davened in this guy's place. And the guy, the whole thing, you know who I am. I paid for this whole shul. I built this shul. You took my place. How dare you? And the guy runs away. He never comes back to that shul. The guy runs away. Now the gvir, the rich guy, is in his place, and they start talking to the guy next to him. So what do you think about Hamas? Right? So he got his place. It's no standard kavur. The place is a makom kavur. His whole davening is a kriyas. It's not a living tefillah. It's not a living. It's not the davening is not alive. It's a mokum kavur. There's a stender. He has his place. He's in the shul. There's where he davens. Like Jews ask each other, where do you daven? Where do you daven? Imagine if Jews would start to ask each other, so how do you daven today? Where do you live? I live in Perek. Yeah, where do you daven? I live in 5 towns. Where do you daven? What if it was never about a place? The person said, no, how did you daven today? Not that people should butt into other people's lives, but no, how did you daven? Not where do you daven? Or like the famous, beautiful way of saying things, how many talaisim are in your shul? It's like, well, that's even a higher madrega. Not where do you daven? Well, first I'll say, where do you daven? How many people are there? How many talaisim are there? How did you daven? It doesn't make a difference how you daven. Be that you come for the last 10 minutes of davening, that's called where you daven. Not how you daven. Or how about this? To whom do you daven? When was the last time you davened Hashem's book? To whom do you daven? Not to drop the question of where do you daven. To whom do you daven? To whom do you daven? That's a chashuv question. To whom do you daven? Or for who are you learning? Why are you learning? For who are you keeping Shabbos? Where do you daven Shabbos? Where do you daven the week? That's your problem. Not the kfiyas. The davening and our living should be alive. Okay. Well, daven.